Welcome to our Psachim Shir. We are learning about Hilchas Pesach through the Gemara. We're going to go through sugyas to do with bedikas chametz, biur chametz, and we are in Daf Dalid Omud Aleph in the middle of a sugya, but towards the bottom of the page we have here Omar lo Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. The question asked was a person who is renting a house for Pesach. That's very nogea l'halacha. A person wants to live in someone else's house for money. In other words, there's a person, he's a tenant in someone's house, he's there for Pesach, or even if he'll stay there only after Pesach, but lemaisa, at the moment of bedikas chametz, who has the chiyuv, the soichel or the maskil? The balabais, the landlord, or the tenant? Who has the chiyuv to check the chametz? The Gemara said that both of them have a chiyuv, albeit only the rabbanon. Why? The balabais would have a chiyuv because the chametz is his. He was there till now, so all the whiskey and pretzels and cereals are his. On the other hand, lemaisa now the soicher, he is a balabais. As a matter of fact, practically speaking, the balabais now, person living there, the person who has the right to live there, is balabais, is the renter, the tenant. Who has a chiyuv? The shields the nishmas mefader Menachem ben Akiva, the nishmas Shalom ben Tzvi Hirsch. Omar of Nachman bar Yitzchak. Tnina, we learned in the Brisa. Hamaskir bais lechaveroi, person who rents a house to his friend. Im ad shalom asal maftechois chalal ba'asal. If the arbasar came the night, that pivotal moment, the beginning of the 14th or l'arbasar, the 14th of Nisan came, then the key was not yet given to the landlord, to the tenant. Alamaskir livdoik, which means the keys were not yet given. At the time of bedikas chametz, the one holding the keys is a maskil. The balabais has to check. If he gave him the keys, he gave the keys. The balabais gave the keys to his new tenant, to the new renter. Then what? Then came Arbasar. He gave it to him on the 13th or 13th afternoon, and then when the moment of bdika, who was already there, the soicher, then a soicher has to check. Why does it matter if the Mesiras Meftechos? Why does the Mesiras Meftechos? Why is that the crucial moment? Why is that the important moment that makes all the difference? Look at Rashi. Here Rashi argues with like all the Rishonim. So Rashi wants to say about the Meftechos. Rashi says because Mesiras Meftech hu kinin eschirus. The sixth line from the bottom of the page in Rashi, Mesiras Meftechos he kinin eschirus. That's what he says. In other words, giving the key, that's what makes the soicher a soicher. When you got the key, now you are the legal tenant, the legal resident of the house, and therefore the house is kind of yours, is yours as much as the soicher owns the house, and therefore you have to do the bdika. All the Rishonim argue with Rashi. A lot of Rishonim argue with Rashi. And they say that's not true. They say, no, really, Mesiras Meftech, Loi Metzinu, Mesiras Meftech is a kinyan. How does one acquire land in general? Even, I'm not talking about schios, I'm talking about kinyan. Halachically, if you want to buy a piece of land, how do you buy the piece of land? There are three ways, says the Mishnah in Kiddushin, Daf Chavav Amud Aleph in the top of the page. The Mishnah says there are three ways to buy a karka: kesef, shtar, and chazaka. Either money, even a symbolic amount of money, one down payment or one small amount of money means that once was given, it's yours, and there was a verbal agreement. Tar, a document, or chazaka. Mesiras Meftech is not a kinyan of itself. Mesiras Meftech may be a derivative of derivative, meaning, as Tosfos says, as they all say, there is a concept called lech chazek v'kni. If a person tells his friend, lech chazek v'kni, go, chazek, create a chazaka. What's chazaka? Do something in the karka that shows your balabais. Open the gate, break the gate, build the gate, or paint the wall. Do something that shows that you behave like the balabais, then we say you'll be the balabais. But Mesiras Meftech, without that, as of itself, is not one of the kinyonim. And therefore the Rishonim say that that's not the case here. Mesiras Meftech of itself is not a reason to say that you're balabais. According to the Ran, we're talking here about the case in which there was a proper kinyan. And by the way, the same way you buy a land is the same way you rent the land. Same thing. Yeah, just like if you want to buy it, because here it says the kinyan is a mini kinyan. So just like you buy land with kesef shtar chazoko, so too you koine, you soicher, you rent the land or the car or the apartment or whatever that is, the gas station, whatever you have, kesef shtar chazoko. Yeah. Now, so what's the story of Mesiras Meftech? Is Machlokes Rishonim again. The Ran says we're talking here about a person who already had proper kinyan schilus, kesef shtar chazoko, but Mesiras Meftech is still. You also have to have Mesiras Meftech in order to to be mischayev, to become chayev in the bedikas chametz. Why? Says the Ran. Really, each one has a tzad to be bodek, cannot be bodek. The balabais would say it's not mechiyuv because it's not my house anymore. He's living in my house. The tenant would say that's not my whiskey and my pretzels. Why is he passing the buck to me? So they made the pshara, and they said whoever has access to the house, he'll be the one that'll do the bedika. It's kind of a third factor. If you, the soicher, really, by the way, the soicher is already owning the house, owning as much as Churus owns, because there was kesef for shtar chazaka where there was kesef shtar chazaka already in the. I'm sorry, yeah, in the. Sorry, in the. There was kesef shtar chazaka. Sorry about that. There was kesef shtar chazaka where before the night of the 14th. Elamai now that since you don't have access, we're not mechav you yet. Once you have access to the house, you're mechuyev. You're mechuyev to do the bdika. Okay? That's according to the Ran. According to, one second. I'm sorry for the glitches over here. We have an issue with Zoom. Yeah, okay, good. Yes. Um, according to the Ran, excuse me, that's according to Ran. According to Tosfos, it's a little bit different. According to Tosfos, we say that the Riz says, look at Tosfos and Mefarashri. Look at the last Tosfos, the words of Mefarashri. Mefarashri docha shemosor lamaftech velo hichzik. The Tosfos says that there was no chazaka yet, only Mesiras Meftech. ומי שיש בידו מפתח, כשחל יודעת חייב לבדוק. Also שאין בידו מפתח, איך ייכנס ויבדוק? Which means, according to Tosfos, instead of a kinyan, even though there's no kinyan yet of schirus, the mere fact you have the key, that shows you have access, you have to do the bedika. According to the Ran, you have to have the proper kinyan, real schirus, and you have to have the key in your hand, and then you become chayiv bedika, if you're the renter. You have to know that. If you rent an apartment for Pesach, we're going to see the Mishnah Berurah, that's the Gal halacha. And if you want to tell, according to Ran, according to Tosfos, no, we don't care about anything else. If you have the key, nothing to do with kinyan. Having the key means you have the access. If you have the access, the bdika is yours. The chiyuv bdika is yours. Okay, we'll see it later in the Mishnah Berurah. Now comes a question. Bomine, by the way, something very interesting comes out. What would it be if the house is opened? Let's say you can access the house. They live in a place with no crime. Such places exist in the world, they say, and you don't have to. Somebody told me there's such a place in Australia. They don't have to lock the doors because nobody steals over there. Bekitzer, Baruch Hashem. Bekitzer, let's say you have such a place. What would be in such a place? Then the maftech doesn't mean anything. And then enochinami, once you did the kinyan, according to the Ran, you're mechuyev to be boydek, because the maftech doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Okay. Now, we'll see the Mishnah Berurah afterwards to summarize the whole thing. Here comes a very, very interesting question. A person rented out the house to his friend on the 14th, which means 14th by day, morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, the rental begins. Chizkosa boduk or en chizkosa boduk, which means, do we assume, are we machzik that the Balabais checked it last night when there was a chiyuv, or no? That's a question. Yeah? Is there or isn't there a chazaka? Is there an assumption to say that the Balabais actually did the bdika as a good from Jew, or maybe not? We have to understand why would we say not, because it's more likely to say yes. Because most from people, you assume a from person, nowadays maybe you don't know, chas v'shalom, yeah? You assume a person who behaves the next from, he does the chiyuvim. And if the house was his last night, before the rental started, we assume he did the bdika. But we're going to see later why there's a tzad to say not like that, because we don't know what kind of person you're talking about. But that's right now we have the question. Back the Gemara, the mind of Kamina. Who cares? Why are you Bichlal asking the question of Chazoko and Chazoko? Lishayle, ask him. Why do you have to play a guessing game? Is there Chazoko? Is there Chazoko? Ask him. Pick up the phone and ask him, Mister, did you do bedikas chametz, yes or no? Mashma, a person is ne'eman. We see from here two things. You see that even if we say that there is chazoko, the house is checked, you still have to ask the person. The Rishonim, a lot of them say this over here. Even when you have chazoko, it's better to ask the person if things are as they are. By shchita, you have to ask, was the shchita good, even if it's a good shoichet. By a woman, according to some, you have to ask her, did you go to the mikveh, even though you know she did. But it's always good to ask for extra safety if you can. If you can be mevarer, even in the case of chazoko, you still have to be mevarer. So ask him. We also see that if you ask him, you believe him. Right? Maybe he's lying. So we believe he has cheskas ne'emanus. So why do you have to play a guessing game? Do you assume that he checked it? L'shayla asked him. And says Gemara, Delay say lehai, deleshiule, he's not around. He went for Pesach on a vacation. You know where to? Western Samoa. No phone reception over there. That's it. You know, it's like 20 hours behind. I don't know. You can't get hold of him. So I don't know. So now the question is, La truchi lehai mai, shall we be matriach? Shall we make the new guy, the tenant, be matriachim or not? Right? That's a question. Misofik. In other words, what? The Seicher, shall we tell the Seicher to start checking, or shall we believe the Chazaka? That's a Shaila. Shall we assume that Yidden do the mitzvahs right and not be matriach the poor man to start checking, and it's 14 in the morning already, Erev Pesach, or no? Amalov Nachman Yitzchak, Tnisua, look, I have a brisa, and from this brisa we can derive an answer. What does the brisa say? Hakol ne'emonim al biur chometz. Everybody is ne'eman to testify, says Rashi lehoid, second Rashi from the end, second line, to testify in the 14th, shebodku be'olov emesh. Afilu noshim, afilu avodim, afilu ktanim. Interesting. A woman, an eved, and a cotton, who are not ne'eman almost ever about for edus, and isha is not shel edus, and surely not avodim, and surely not ktanim. Women sometimes, but ktanim never. Yeah. And you have an edus, and they can testify and say, yeah, my daddy checked the house yesterday. Yeah, they can check and say, my father, my husband, my whoever, they checked the house and they are believed. Interesting. My time, why are they believed to tell me that the house was checked? If I asked them on the 14th, yeah, I'm the tenant, I came in, the Balabais went, en ha'ish beveisoi, he went already to, I don't know, Western Sahara, and the wife stayed behind, and she can tell the husband checked, and she's believed. Why are they believed? Oh, here I'm telling you now already, I can see a lot of eyebrows which are going to shut up soon. There'll be something very difficult now, which only Tosfos will deal with, okay? So I'm telling you now, we're going to read the Gemara now without Tosfos, then we'll see Tosfos. The Gemara at this point is asking, come on, these people are not believed. You never believe an Eved's Edus, a Cotton's Edus? Come on. So why do you believe the Edus? Interesting. It's not really to believe them. If they said, Daddy checked it, my hubby checked it, it's because we anyhow know that the house is B'cheskas Boduk. Of course, the question is, so why do we need them? Who cares about what they say? I know the question, and Tosfos will deal with it beautifully. But for now, let's just read the Gemara, okay? For the sake of the flow, we'll read the Gemara, then we'll see the Tosfos. But right now, what we're trying to prove here, Nachman Yitzchak is trying to prove, look, we have this woman talking, the little kid talking, who cares? Why do we believe them? Because even without their testimony, the chazak of Nas is Baduk Dalid Omud Beis, top of the page. Dekasova. Oh, here we're going to see now the cat's out of the bag. Hakol chaverim etzel bedikas chametz, which means what's hakol chaverim? Chaverim doesn't mean friends. Chaverim means very firm people. Chaver means as follows. The Tanya, I'm going to explain everything after the Braisa. The Tanya, Chaver Shemes, a person who keeps mitzvahs properly. You know what Chaverim used to keep better than everybody else? Tuma v'tahara and Maisras. Chaverim are like the Charedim of today, the real Charedim, yeah? Not the thing, yeah? What's Chaver Shemes? A Chaver, a person who was properly Shomer mitzvahs, who was careful with Maisras, a Chazonishnik, was careful with Tuma v'tahara. A Chaver died v'eniach migura malei peiros. He left behind a legacy after his death. You see in his house a whole silo, a whole granary full of fruit. Fruit many times means grains of wheat or whatever. Even if that pile of fruit is 1 day old, literally he got it there a day before he had his heart attack or whatever happened. We assume, highly assume, that they were gemeistered. We assume that meister was taken, they were tithed. You know why? Because the chaver takes care of business very quickly and very carefully, and therefore we know that if you come to his house for the shiva a day after it was niftar, you don't have to ask questions. Did he take meiser? Didn't he take meiser? He clearly took meiser straight away. What does that have to do with us? Back to line one. Hakol chaver mitzvah chometz. Now everything will be explained. The question over here is about an Ama Oretz. I don't know who is the owner of the house. Could be the guys in Ama Oretz. Not careful with Meiser so much. Not so careful with Tuma V'Tara. Not so careful with this, that, and the other. He hates the Talmid Chachomim. You know, there are religious people like Talmid Chachomim. Big news, right? V'chule v'chule. I'm not going to get into all the politics in Israel right now. And this guy, I would say, I'm renting from him. I don't know if he checked for chametz. He's not Mr. Frumi, right? So maybe he's not. Aha! Says the Gemara, no. You know why his wife and kids are Naaman? We don't really care about what they say. I assume hakol chaverim it's bedikas chametz. Meaning, just like a chaver is Naaman from Meiser, well, Amaretz is not. Chaver is Naaman for everything because he's a super from Bnei Braker. He's Naaman for everything. So too regarding chametz, everybody keeps chametz, right? Baruch Hashem, even in today's Israel, most chilonim don't at least openly eat chametz. As far as I know, that's what the surveys say. That's what I believe. You know. In other words, so even Amaretz is not chiloni. Amaretz is like the tea light. I don't know if you know. You know this term? Yeah. You've been in Israel store long enough. Yeah. These guys, have. Pick your choice. So this guy, even such people, when it comes to bedikas chametz, they're believed. They're assumed to do it straight away, and they did it the night before, even though tomorrow someone else is going to be there. Okay, so far so good. Frag the Gemara mimai. No. The Gemara is unhappy with this answer because of what we said before. You're telling me that it's not because of the woman and kid that we're talking? You're telling me that it's not because the Eved that said that the house is checked? You're telling me stop any Jewish home, even if the guy has a kippah that tiny, even then we say that the house is assumed to be checked? Doesn't make sense. Maybe over there it's different because they are talking. The woman, the child, the Eved, they say something and then telling me the house is checked. It's not that every house is supposed to be checked. If I come to an empty home, nobody's there, no woman, no child, no nobody, I don't know if the house was checked or not, right? Then what? It doesn't, don't tell me don't give me any information from the case of the Isha V'Koton, right? The case of the Isha V'Koton is something different. Yeah, maybe there it's only because they are believed. Only because they are believed. Dog the Gemara, because they're believed, not because the house is checked. The house may not be assumed to be checked. Zog the Gemara, what are you talking about? You think the Amira, the saying of those individual, has any mamoshus, has anything real to it? We never believe Isha, Koton, and an Eved for halachic matters. Soon we'll see that we are, but right now we assume no. Elamai, You see where we're vacillating? Is it because the house is checked, assumed to be checked, or is it because of their talking? Right now, the Gemara says no. Their speech, their declaration is garnished with garnished. So we assume that the house is checked. Very good. So even if they're not around the woman and the kid, I come to an empty house. I don't know what happened. Haunted house. I don't know if the house is checked or not. We assume it was checked. Talk the Gemara. Is that so? Says the Gemara. Elamai d'chizkoso boduk. Yeah, you're telling me it's only because of the house that's being checked, we assume, not because of the declaration of the woman and the kid? If so, even grammatically, the brisa doesn't make sense. Hi, hakol ne'emonim. Hakol ne'emonim means what? Everyone is believed. Believed means a human being. According to you, kol habatim b'cheskes b'dukin b'abasom ibayle. The brisa should have said, now, the brisa shouldn't have focused on the people and say a verb or an adjective, they are believed. The brisa should have said, all houses are assumed to be checked and finished. Leave the woman and Eved alone. Elamai, Mishuma Mira De'ani, says the Gemara, you know what? Let's play the cards your way. You want to tell me, no, they are believed, for whichever reason. We'll see later why. Okay, you're being, I don't know, a feminist, a thing, you believe the woman, very nice. Are you telling me the Amir or Dahani? That's why we believe because the woman said so, because the Eved said so. You believe the Avodim, they're such nice people. You believe the little children, children's right. You're all of a sudden going into them. If so, listen to what comes out of what you're saying. Haloi Amri Hani, Loi. Aha. So you're telling me that if they wouldn't have said anything, then the house would not have been assumed to be checked. Then the house is assumed to be chametz. If so, you can also derive the other way around. Tifshot minei. Now we can clarify and infer from this brisa the en cheskos baduk. Right? You have the question. Now Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak should have derived the other way around. These kids and women and the other people left behind, they are believed. Mashma that if not for the statement, en cheskos baduk. So if I go to a regular house, empty house, I found the guy online. It happens today, right? Airbnb online, chat group, and all that. I never saw the guy. Maybe I'm Oretz. His wife is not around. His kids are not around. And he's not answering the phone. Israeli service for you. You have no idea if it's checked or not checked. That's not science. I'm sure it happened to people. Yeah, he wants to go on vacation to some Ashkelon B&B. I don't know the guys. He's religious. I don't know what. Where's his wife? I don't know. Where's his phone number? So you're telling me what? You're telling me l'choyer only because the wife says that if the wife is not there, ain't cheskos baduk. So now I have to crawl on all four and check. And it's not what Nachman Yitzchak said. And says the Gemara, now everything will come into peace, and then we'll see Tosfos. So the Gemara loy. Loy lo meimalach cheskos baduk. First of all, a regular home, a regular house, even owned by Nama Oretz, cheskos baduk, and that's the halacha as will Imertz Hashem see later. The assumption is a Jewish home, and I'm not talking about Chiloini from North Tel Aviv, tfu. I'm talking about what? I'm talking about a regular frumish. We assume bedikas chametz is done. Bedikas chametz is done by everyone, even a maratzim, as we said before. What about the story of the woman and the kid? Why are they relevant? It's anyhow checked. Who needs their redundant statement? The story of the woman and the kid is a whole different story. The muchzaklan deloy bodak. We're talking not in a parav case. We're talking about a case, says Rashi, we saw the guy leaving and we know he did not check. We know that the guy didn't check. Don't tell me stories. I know that Mr. Owner of the house, Mr. Landlord, whom I am renting from, we know that he did not check. I saw him leaving too early. I caught him red-handed saying, I'm not doing bedikas chametz. He didn't do bedikas chametz, and I know it. The Amri Hani b'dekine, those other people, the woman and the child and the Eved, or Eved and the kid, they say, we checked it. They say that we checked it ourselves. True, my husband is not so, I checked it, says the woman. I checked it, says the Eved. Ma'udetema, lolim nu rabbanon. One would say, well, we're not supposed to believe those people for Isurim, or so we assume. Kamash malan, here comes the punchline. Kema de bedikas chametz midarabanon hi. Back to the first year of Russian Tosfos. Bedikas chametz, when we look at the whole picture of bedika versus bitul, since bitul can be done very easily by anybody, right? So the bedika really is the rabbanon, right? Because once you were mevatel and you annulled and mafkir the chametz, automatically you moved into the Rabbanon level. That the bedika is only midrabanon, so you're not going to find anything and eat it, right? Kevin ibn Chasam Rabbananu, the midoraisa bitul be'al masagile. Midoraisa bitul alone, bitul per se would be good enough. Himnu Rabbanon b'derabbanon. Bingo. End of story. Which means the chiddush is as follows. Although normally Eved, Isha, and Koton are not named B'Yisurin, by the way, let's assume so. It's not so simple. Let's assume so. They're not named B'Yisurin, but since this is the Rabbanon, not the Oraisa, Rabbanon have every right in the world to invent whatever they want. Rabbanon are the ones who kind of once there's bitul, I'm okay with Doraisa. I can live in a house full of chametz with Doraisa. Bitul. I made a clear bitul. Merala kavunas and hidurim bezayda gezuk tova. The shaymichit kitchabrichi. Yeah, this is mevutel, the whole house, all the chametz, right? All the whiskey, all the steers, mevutel. With Doraisa can live in that house. Of course, my wife got a heart attack when I'm saying it. Yeah, but you can with the rabbanon, you have to do the bedika and burn it, right? So it's with the rabbanon. If it's with the rabbanon have every right to say we believe the Isha and the Kotan and the Eved. Now, before we continue, we can't even continue without asking the very, very big question before the first Tosfos. I'm not even reading Tosfos inside. I'll reserve the Tosfos reading to the Geschmack Tosfos at the beginning of the Amud. But first of all, we have to deal with the big question. What the Gemara says seems to be outright or wrong, downright wrong. How do you know that Eid Echad Neman B'Yisurin? When we talk about Shnei Eidim, it's Bedinei Mominus, right? Bedinei Yisurin, if you go to your friend's house and your friend is a religious Jew and you eat in his house, what do you eat in his house? Yeah, sometimes people ask, do you eat badats? Do you eat this? Yeah. You ask him, do you eat badats? He says, yes. What do you believe? He's only one person, not two. Right? He's hosting you in his house, and he says, what? Yes, everything here is badats, landa, rubin. He sounds like a mashgiach kashrus. Everything is kosher and mas. Why do you eat there? He's only one person, not two. Any? Well, because the Torah says, the famous rule, Eid echad neman b'yisurin. Ironically, Yisurin, meaning it comes to macholas asuros, yes or no chazir, yes or no cheeseburger, we believe the guy. One guy is enough. Is one girl enough? Well, yes, because the source of Edechad and Bisurin, one of the sources is Nida. Bisafalosh, even Akim. How do you know your wife did the bedikas? You went there? How do you know she went to mikveh? She went to a swimming pool. She went to a country club to play golf. How do you know where she went? Maybe she's lying to you. All kinds of women nowadays, yeah. So Elamai, Edechad and Bisurin. So that's a complete steer to what the Gemara is saying. That's a doraisa nida. That's unless time I checked, it's a chorus. So how can the Gemara tell me that had it been doraisa, you don't believe the woman or the kid or the eved, right? Only because it's the rabbanon. Not true. A woman is neman, and Tosas brings down from chulin. I'm not even reading Tosas. Some all the Rishonim, they all go up in arms again. Yeah, here. Tosas says, "Ma'asim b'chol yom shanu ma'aminim leisha ve'eved la'shchita ve'laniku v'chule v'chule." Yeah, the Gemara says in Ksubas, a woman feeds you food. How do you know your wife cooks kosher? You can go crazy. Yeah, you do. You believe her. Elamai, there are a few answers. Answer number one is that the Isha is lav dafka. The Meir gives like four answers. Answer number one, enechanami. The ones who are not neman a cotton, what does he know from his life? A cotton is not neman. Only woman. Eved is not neman. Avodim rosh shakronim and ganovim. No, for Gemara. Yeah, they are. Sorry. To be not politically correct, the Gemara says avodim are not nemanim. A woman in Echanam is neman, and when a woman is only agav ish and agav katan ve'eved. A woman should not be in this group. A woman would be neman even if it was the oraisa. The other ones are not neman. They're only neman of the rabbanon because rabbanon can hem homru ve'hem homru. But a woman, even if it had been the oraisa, would be neman. Yeah. Answer number two. Depend. Rabbanon are the ones who said you have to do bdika, and Rabbanon said we believe the Eved and the Kotan and the bdika. Why? I don't know. Well, the Meister Rabbanon said we are not machmir more than that, meaning they have a certain level of neemanus, which in the Raisa doesn't apply, but here does apply. No? Toisves about what? No, that a woman should the what about what? Vavodim. Right. I'm not saying Toisves. I said me. Right. Now says the right Tosfos, Tosfos answers, and you'll see it in Tosfos, that depends on what those things that they're used to, like chala, meiser, nida. That's a woman's mitzvah. She's named in the kitchen. She's named in the mikveh. That's her turf. Mashein kem bedikas chametz is beyodo, but I have him midorais. You wouldn't believe ika tircha yeterta v'tzorich diktu godol. It's a lot of tircha to do bedikas chametz. You need a lot of dikduk. It's a big headache. And the Yerushalmi says, Noshim atzlon yosen. Women can get lazy. Women are not lazy in the kitchen. They're not lazy in the mikveh because that's their turf. That's their area that they're in charge of. Bdikas chametz is not naturally the woman's thing to do. It's not supposed to be her role in the house. Yeah? And therefore she'll say, who needs this headache? I'm not a man. What do you want for my life? Tomorrow I'm going to go to Gemara Shir or what else? It's not in their mindset. And they can get lazy. Call Milsa de la Avram Yainish Lavadaita. It says, something's not my job. Why should I do it, right? Many times you feel frustrated at work or in the family. Why should it be my job? It's not to be me doing it, right? So you're lazy. You're not doing it properly.
Some people like to clean.
They like to clean very much, the women, they're more than like. But that's bedikas chametz. She doesn't feel that's her tafkid. There's cleaning and there's bedikas, two different things. Right? And Mimela, such a thing, says the Meir, says interesting lotion, he says todir. The other mitzvahs that are todir, she's used to. This is not todir. Once a year, it's not her thing. Yeah, todir, she goes to mikveh once a month, she cooks 3 times a day. So these things are todir, part of her daily life. It's not todir, it's a weird thing you do once a year, not so frequent, not so to do with her, she doesn't do it. So Lamaskono, I think we'll have to leave the Mishnah Berurah for tomorrow because I want to see Tosfos today. I think tomorrow we'll start with the Mishnah Berurah, okay? Of schilus. Very important things we have to know if you rent out the house for Pesach. Yep. So now, so far, what have we seen? We've seen like this. If the person is even if a person is a Amma Oretz, normally we believe that he did bedikas chametz. Yeah? Okay. Now, we also see that if you can chap the guy and ask him, did you do bedikas chametz? You better ask him. I'm not saying halacha l'mais, I'm seeing what comes out from the Gemara. Yeah? Why? Because the Gemara said velishayle. The Gemara wasn't trying to push away an answer. The Gemara really meant what it says. The Gemara says, ask him, even though there's a chazaka that he does bedikas chametz, if you can, it's better to mevarer chazaka. That's halacha in many areas in halacha. Secondly, a woman, and clearly a woman, and even an eved and a cotton, only cotton that has reached the age of chinuch, yeah, which is whatever 6, 7, or 9, depends. When there are 2 levels. Chinuch is already from 6 or 7. Yeah, at least 9 is peutas, is even more. Lo mishaneh. But if the kid is already knowledgeable, knows what we're talking about more or less, then you can believe the kid or the woman that they did bedikas chametz, or they can be believed that the father did bedikas chametz. They're believed to say that they did b'dika even if you know that the father didn't. That's a chiddush. Yeah, here they're believed. Why? The Rabbanan believe the Rabbanan. That's what we derive from here. Now, let's go back to the beginning of the page. Yeah, and at the beginning of the page, what did we say? We're talking here about what was a very funny brisa. The brisa was like singing 2 different songs and not in harmony, right? What did the brisa say? There's a case of, Isha v'koton, right? We believe then. We know the maskono. Why do we believe then? Because that house is not muchzak to be baduk. Any regular Jewish home is muchzak to be baduk. Whether the guy is a Talmud Chacham or the guy is a chafifnik, is an amoretz. We always assume a house is baduk, right? True? Yeah. Why do we need the Isha and the Koton? Isha and Koton are believed even when we know that the house was not checked. The house is in a minus. The house is in a disadvantage. Even then, a woman and a Koton and an Eved are Ne'eman. So the Maskana comes very clear. But I want to go back to the Havamina. I don't have much time. And Tosfos is asking the question, at some point the Gemara says what? Why do we leave the woman and the Koton and the thing? Because the house is Chizkos Baduk, right? What do you mean? If the house is muchzak to be baduk, why do I need them? Yeah? What's a havamina? We have to understand every havamina, says the Chazon Ish. You have to understand. Yeah, what kind of funny havamina? It's the same belief, you're gonna actually, in Ashkofa they say it's a true thing. When they say, but I don't believe that you have 2 eyes, Baruch Hashem. I know you have 2 eyes, I can see it. But definition, believing means something which can't see. No, but actually, Baruch Hashem, we should thank Hashem for that, yeah? In other words, yeah, believing is on something I don't know, right? So if I know that the chazaka is baduk, why do I need them to tell me? And if they're telling me, why do I need the chazaka? Yeah? So Tais is asking the question, which again we're running out of time. So let's just 1 second. Yeah, Tema, Frek Taisfus, we'll see how far we can go today. Masal Kadaitach. Debichas Kosa Boduk, the first Taisus in the first line. Im ken matzor chlamir dani klal. Why do I need their statement? If the house is muchlik to be boduk, like every nice Jewish home, why is their statement male or mayrid? It doesn't make any difference, right? I'm stating to you that I have 2 eyes. Baruch Hashem. What's the chiddush, right? Thank you very much. Oimeri, the mayri kigon shebalbais ba'ir. Oh, the balbais is in town, and he is really accessible. He's in town, and he's even answering his phone. That's nice. Afal gav lechizkosoy boduk, kevan de isei ba'ir tzorich lishal imenu. Aha. As I told you, even though there's a chazoko, you still have to ask Balabais, did you check? Yeah, because we have a rule in halacha. This is something which, if you only came to this shirt just to hear that, it's worth it. Just because there's a chazaka, you don't rely on chazaka. If you can, you better ask the person. You ask the person, is it kosher? You ask your wife, did you go to mikveh? You ask the person, are you moichel? Let's say you're mochzek to be moichel, maybe not. Ask le'eter bitachon, as you say, to be on the safe side. Well, le'achi ma'ani amir dani. Oh, that's pshat. Their statement is good enough that can serve that can fill in the hole instead of asking the balabais. In other words, that's what we're marviach. Lefid havamina, they're not really believed. But if I have chazoko, let's say chazoko fills in 80% and 90%, I want the extra 10% to play it safe. I have to ask the balabais. That 10% extra cherry on top, for that they're neman. Get it? So now it does serve a certain purpose. Okay, that's just a sin. It's very nice. The Emshech of Tosis, but we don't have time right now. Tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Which day of the week is tomorrow? Tuesday, right? Tuesday, Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow. And what? And we will look at the Mishnah Berurah. Okay? Very interesting Mishnah Berurah about bedikas chametz beschirus. Yeah? We have to know each and every part of halacha, Be'ezrat Hashem, including schirus, and then we'll continue into the Gemara, Maskeh Bais Lechem B'cheskas Boduk. The next thing is going to be, what would be if the house, yeah, you were promised that the house is checked, and then you see a pretzel over here and a bottle of whiskey over there. Oopa, are you upset or not? It was supposed to be Boduk and it's not Boduk. Wow. What happens then?
It belongs to Shindala.
What?
It belongs to Shindala.
What do you mean?
The whiskey.
Okay, maybe. Anyway, have a great night. We should be matzliach in preparation for Pesach. Atzlacha uvracha.